What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to an awesome video. Today I'm going to be teaching you a really awesome multi-card control. I don't think I've taught any multi-card controls yet, and I know some people have been asking about doing a multi-card DPS or a multi-card shift into a cop, and that is something that is coming, but I thought something a bit easier and something super practical and that any of you can pick up and learn really easily. Great for your street work, your table work, and this shift is super awesome. So it's a variation of mine, something I had kind of just stumbled upon playing around with a deck of cards. Now it's similar to the Nash multiple shift, and if you know what that is, that's a table shift. I've basically adapted the Nash multiple shift into the hands, and this was actually something that I stumbled upon before I even learned the Nash multiple shift, and then I realized that very, very similar, except the Nash multiple shift is typically done on the table. Well, this one is going to be done in the hands, and there's a variation where it's all in the hands. There's a variation where it starts in the hands, goes to the table. So I'm going to get into all that stuff. This is an awesome control. You can control 4 cards, 5 cards, however many cards you want, to the top of the deck, to the bottom of the deck, whatever you want to do, and it is a really awesome control. So if you guys like these type of tutorials, make sure you hit that sub button and that notification bell. Drop a like on this video, really helps me out. And without any further ado, let's get into this multiple shift tutorial. Let me show you guys a quick demo on this shift. We'll take the 4 aces, leave them at 4 different spots in the deck, push those into the middle of the deck just like that, give the deck a little bit of a cut, and just like that, the 4 aces have been controlled to the top. I'm going to take the 4 aces, put them at 4 different spots in the deck, leave those cards cleanly into the middle of the deck. I'll give the cards a couple of cuts onto the table, and just like that, the 4 aces have been controlled to the bottom. So let me show you guys some exposure now on that shift. So if I take those 4 aces, once again, 4 different spots in the deck, push those cards into the middle of the deck, and now I'm going to take that packet, give the cards a cut, and the 4 aces end up on top. So there are 2 variations of this shift that I have demonstrated for you guys. The first one is going to be completely in the hands. It's going to take those 4 aces, you push them into the middle, give the cards 1 cut, and the aces end up on top. The other variation, push the 4 aces into the middle, and you give the deck a series of cuts to the table, and they end up on the bottom. So there's 2 variations. One I do prefer more than the other, and that's going to be the control to the top. I do think it's easier, but it's a little bit more deceptive. But equally, they're both really nice. So let's start with my favorite. Let's start with the control to the top. Now first we got to go over how to do the shift of the cards through the deck. So if you're good at the DPS, this is going to be similar to that action, but it's only a small portion of it. So first we'll start with 1 card. That's a good place to practice. Essentially what you're doing is you're kicking the card on an angle, but then when you get to this point, your thumb just kicks the card back a bit and your pinky just straightens, and it's going to leave a little lip. Okay, so again, it's like the DPS. You're going to come over top. The middle finger or the ring finger, whatever's comfortable, is going to slightly angle that card towards your dealing thumb. All right, it's going to go straight underneath the thumb. The thumb's going to kick it back a little bit, and then there's going to be a corner that pokes out near the pinky that's going to push back, and you're going to create a in-jog. Okay, so at speed, it's like that, and you have a nice in-jog. Okay, so what you see from the side, push, the thumb kicks it back, pinky squares, and it comes out the back. Okay, from a back angle view, the index finger pushes it in, the thumb kicks the corner, and then the pinky squares, and you get that nice in-jog. So that is really what you have to essentially master with this shift, is get that portion down looking nice. Now it's really easy to do. Like I said, the DPS is the same thing, except you're pulling the hand back, right? With this, you don't really move that right hand. You just go, and then the thumb, when this hand's over top, the thumb can pull back a little bit to get that card out. Now the more the thumb is going to pull back here, the more the card's going to stick out, and then when you square, the further it's going to come back. So you really only need a little bit with the thumb to get a little step, and that's all you really need. You just need a tiny step, just big enough for you to grab. So I would say we're aiming for about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch little step, right? You can go a little bit smaller than this, that's fine, but I like about that 1/2 inch mark. So the card goes in, and like that. And that's how quickly that shift looks. So once again, full speed, card goes in, and I've stepped it just like that. So that's the idea. Now you need to get comfortable doing that shift with more than one card. So I'd build it up. The less cards you have, the easier this is going to be. Also, another tip, the closer the cards are together in the deck, right? You can see these cards are close together. If you look from the side, very close together. But the closer they are, the easier this is going to be. If you try with two cards and they're pretty far separated like that, it is going to be slightly more difficult, but it's still very easy to do. Okay? So practice, build up with 2 cards, 3 cards. I think, you know, the optimal here, we're aiming for 4 cards, so we can do it with 4 of a kind, but whatever your needs are, really. Now, when I do this, like I said, I'll make it a bit easier on myself. So you're going to take the 4 cards and you're going to spread them, pulling the thumb backwards and pushing the fingers up. And that's going to spread it in the direction where the pips are going to be concealed, right? Now, that is a problem for showing, you know, because you can't see necessarily all the aces, but it's the nice way to get all 4 cards into the center as you riffle down the thumb. If you do it this way, it's not going to work. So what I'll often do is spread them this way. You can see the 4 aces, come back down, show one last time, and there I just reverse the spread. And now you can begin first one in, second one in, third one in, fourth one in as you riffle and get those 4 cards in. Just a note, like I said, I like to keep these close together, so I'm not going to put one here, one all the way down here, all the way down here, and all the way down here, so they're evenly spread throughout the deck, because that just makes my life more difficult and it's not really necessary. Just, you know, aim to put like 6, 7 cards between each one, whatever. And now they're much more concentrated towards the top or the middle. And now you spread through and you still get this really nice display, all of them in 4 different parts. Now square everything up. That's another tip. If you can keep everything pretty square, you know, all the cards are pretty well square, that'll help you a lot. Now you start to push in, same as the DPS, till those come under the thumb. The thumb kicks back very slightly to hide them, then the pinky's gonna pull them back, and that's just gonna create that step. Now you have those 4 cards stepped, and here's where the shift comes into play. So the first shift is gonna be getting those cards to the top. So of course, you can just pull them out and throw them on top, and it actually does kind of just look like you're cutting the cards. From this angle, you can't see anything sticking out, looks nice, and you just come back here and it kind of looks like you're putting the cards on top. Now that's sort of the basic version, but we want to make this more deceptive. So what do? As we're in this position, now the angle is important. You obviously need to be tilted up slightly. Obviously you can just kind of point this at their eye line, but I do like to be able to show a little bit of the top. I think that's nice and really kind of adds to that. So there is a nice balance here. Now what you're gonna do is just as you go to the cut, you're gonna reach the index finger forward, and you're gonna kick back maybe 1/4 of the deck. Okay, just a small packet from the bottom like that. You're gonna kick it back so that it now lines up with the rest of the cards. As you can see in this case, this card was in the bottom quarter, so it pushed it back as well, but that's not a big deal. As you can see from the side, that packet now lines up with all of the cards. We can, you know, push that in for demonstration purposes, but you can see how it lines up with roughly all the cards. And now when you grip all of this, they actually see that bottom packet coming up and on top. And that looks really deceptive, and it still controls the 4 aces to the top. So once again, we put those in fairly close together just to make our lives easier. Show 4 different spots. You could even have the spectator return the aces to the deck. Push them in. Pull back a little bit with the thumb, so you're in this position. Close with the pinky. You're gonna get a nice step of all 4 cards. From this point, you're gonna hold the deck at sort of an angle, you know, not quite perfectly pointing at the eye line of the front, but just a bit so they can see the back. As you go for the cut, you're kicking back about 1/4 of the deck. It really doesn't matter, but roughly 1/4 of the deck with the index, so it lines up that deck with the other 4 aces. Just as you're doing that, you're also stripping out all of the aces and that packet and throwing it on top, and you've made the control happen. So quickly, at speed, I take those 4 aces, throw them in, show that they are in different spots, come here, push them in one quick motion. Another little tip, take a pause here. No need to rush. I have my step. I can wait here all day. This is a nice little subtlety. You can explain the next part of the trick, and then when you're ready, I like to push the deck up into this elevated grip here. Right, so it's down in my dealing grip. I get up into this elevated grip by just bringing the index underneath and kind of pushing it out of the hand. So I'm holding it at the fingertips. I'm gonna reach forward, do the push back of the bottom quarter as I strip out. So that just looks like that. Very, very deceptive, and I've controlled all 4 aces to the top. Now to the bottom, everything's gonna be very similar, just except the strip out portion. So once again, you put those 4 aces into the deck, show them in 4 different spots. So then you're gonna do the shift. So again, you have the deck flat in your hand. You could do it up at the fingertips. I prefer flat at the hand. put a little bit of pressure with the index finger to angle those cards off to the side. So I typically put my index finger on the closer half to my thumb, and these fingers can kind of provide a little bit of cover as it pushes over, and the thumb pulls those back a little bit. The pinky is then going to square, and you have your step of the 4 cards. Now in this one, we're essentially doing the opposite here. We're going to be using the top card packet as the first cut. Now, this one, I think the easier way of just stripping out the cards works a little better. So you come here and you can just strip out the 4 aces on the first place down, and then the rest you're just stripping off packets on the top and they go to the bottom. Now again, we can make this more deceptive by using the top few cards as cover and making it look like that packet comes off the top. I think this does work well when you're just stripping the aces though, because you can just keep the deck pointed more at their eye line, and now when you come here and you do this quick, you can't really tell where those cards come from, especially when you immediately follow it with another cut from the top and a couple more cuts from the top. It's very, very deceptive. Now, what you can do to make this even better is you have your shift ready, and as you come, you're gonna grip these with the ring finger and the thumb to do the strip out. And as you do that, your index finger, and even your middle finger if you want, are gonna pull this card back, just the top card, as you're pulling the rest of the aces out. So it happens in one motion where you pull this back and everything comes with it, right? Everything. Now the reason I think it's better is because otherwise your option is to reach the finger forward and kick back a full packet and then do the strip out, which I think obviously looks kind of strange. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna do that, and it looks like a packet. You can't tell how many cards are coming off the top, and that is just 1. And since there is a bit of a packet here, it looks like you took, you know, a bit of a packet from the top. Really, you took the top card and the 4 aces, right? And you set those down, and then you continue in the same fashion, stripping off packets from the top, and you have this really, really nice control. So once again, the aces go in, you're gonna shift them through, so you have your jog, and then when you're ready, you grip thumb and ring finger. These 2 fingers or 1 finger, whatever's comfortable on top, and as you pull, it's gonna retract this one back to come with it. So it's gonna look like that. And you continue the cuts. Doesn't matter if it looks messy because you still have the 4 aces under your control. Now another little tip here is to put the aces a little bit closer to the top for this one and close together, because I would say this is a little bit more difficult than the last one. That's why I do prefer the last one. I think it's just a bit easier and it's equally as deceptive, if not more, and you do it all in the hands, and I think just the 1 cut's a little bit nicer than all the cuts, but your choice, of course. You could do just 1 cut with this one. So as you can see, those cards are closer to the top. Now it's easy for me to get a good grip on them with the ring finger and the thumb. That's gonna be your biggest problem, is you're not gonna be gripping these tight enough and you'll miss one of them. So then as you come over, you pull this card back as everything else comes out. You also, on that note, want to apply a good amount of pressure with the thumb and the middle, ring, whatever, on the side of the deck so that the other cards don't come with it. It's really about finding a balance here as you come to do the strip out, right? So in terms of some subtleties, like I mentioned, I think a pause is a really nice thing to add. So particularly in the shift to the top, it's really nice. It just looks like you have the cards in dealer's grip. You can sit here, talk, gesture a little bit. And when you're ready, you would lift the cards up, pull back, do the strip out, and you've controlled the 4 aces. I think there's a really nice moment of adding that pause where if you were to just go into the cut straight from the shift into the cut, it feels like that's the moment you did something. Whereas if you do the shift, right, and you stop at this point, and then when you come later and you casually just take the cards and cut them, you know, it doesn't feel like anything happened, yet you've still controlled the 4 aces. You know, using that top card, if you're doing the shift to the table, as a bit of cover and making it appear like you're taking a packet from the top as you set them down and continue doing that, totally, you know, can lead them off the trail of any method and is a nice subtlety as well. Being haphazard, you know, you've seen me as I'm doing this, I've had a few cuts that looked really messy, and I think that's a good thing, especially with the one to the table. If you come here and you kind of like, right, like this, and it's really, really messy, you know, I always am a big fan of that theory, and you still get control of those aces. In terms of body language with this, it's really important to be smooth and natural, as I say in most of my videos, but that's important in convincing sleight of hand. Now, this shift in particular, you just want it to flow, right? From here to when the aces go in, to when you spread and show the aces, to when you close up, to when you push those aces through in one sort of nice motion. You pause, you wait, and then you come here and it just looks like a smooth, fluid cut with no hesitation, and you have that nice control. So in terms of some uses and other ideas, the first one that I kind of mentioned is you can have the spectator return the aces when you do this, right? So I think that is a nice moment. You spread through, and we're sort of forcing them, or that's not really a force, but we can do this with the aces anywhere in the deck, but it's nice if they are close together. So you can kind of just spread a little bit and say set the first ace there, but you explain you want them to leave it sticking out a bit so we can really see that they're going into different parts of the deck in a second. Go like this. They'll place the second ace back. Go like this. They'll place the third ace, and of course they will then place the fourth ace back. Now this obviously looks really messy, but as you square up, you get the cards square on the sides. You can put your fingers on the top and the bottom of the aces and square up everything, and then you get a really pretty well squared deck. And when you push the aces in just a little bit to make them all even, now it's really nice. You can come here, show that they're all in different spots, close up, shift them through, and say, look, you could put those aces anywhere. We just cleanly put them into the deck just like that, but yet I have them all under my control, right? So I think that's a nice idea. We can take this actually and add a shuffle to this if you want as another idea. So what you would do is you'd come through, you'd shift the cards, right? Then you're gonna push back that bottom packet as you strip out, same as before. This time, instead of throwing them on top, you're gonna go into a Pharaoh shuffle, and you're just gonna leave a little bit of a top block where those aces are gonna go right on top of the deck. And you get a nice shuffle just like that, and still those aces are controlled. Now one little tip is to put the aces higher near the top of the deck here, right? So now what's gonna happen as you shift through, and you're gonna take a block, you wanna get a block of about half the deck now so it matches. Even more than half is gonna be good. So you push a big chunk back as you strip out, and you're gonna go into a Pharaoh. Now you have this big chunk and a smaller chunk, which is nice because now you just Pharaoh with the bottom part of the deck. Again, the closer to even these are, the better this looks. So now you have this little Pharaoh here with a little chunk on top. Again, these ones weren't super even, but the closer to even, the more deceptive this chunk will be. You can get a really nice illusion of a shuffle, and you still have control. And I think at regular sort of speed, that does look really nice. You show the four aces, and now you have a nice justification when you push them in. Take them here, you go into a quick shuffle like that. Explaining you mix them one more time, but you still have control of those four cards. Same thing with the tabled version, but if this time you put the cards closer to the bottom half and you shift them through, this time when you come to pull, you can either kick back a chunk at the top, or as you come, you just reach these fingers forward to pull back as you do the strip out and set down. Now you have a chunk. If it's not big enough, sometimes I like to add another chunk on top, or I just go straight into it, set this down. I'll say, you know what, let me make this more random. I'll give it a quick shuffle. I just do a simple bottom stock retention shuffle there. You square everything up, and you still have control of the four aces. So I think mixing in a shuffle is a really nice little idea. All right guys, so I hope you liked that multiple shift, something a lot of fun, and I think is super useful, super versatile, and luckily it's easy. A lot of multiple shifts are not super easy. The one that I typically use would be the four aces into four different spots in the deck, and I take those cards and I push them into the middle of the deck like that, but I actually just cop them out, and that's obviously much more difficult. And from there I can load them to the bottom or do whatever I have to do, shift them back to the top. But that's obviously very, very difficult compared to this one. And I think this one is super practical, versatile, is good from all angles, and really, really nice. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Give this video a like if you enjoyed that, and if you want more tutorials of this type. If you want to improve with your multiple shifts, maybe learn the multiple shift to cop, make sure you send me an email, rfsleights@gmail.com. We can set up a private lesson, get that going. It'll be a lot of fun. I would love to meet you and help you work on your sleight of hand. With all that said, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.